Hi there, I'm Maureen and welcome to Before an Audience, tips and tricks to reading your writing out loud. Welcome for your first time, or welcome again to all the people who have been watching the series. This is the third in our series and we're going to have 10. Then after that I have a little surprise for you. But today we're going to talk about how to manage the language. What are you actually going to do with the words to make them sound like you want them to? Now understand, there's no wrong answer here. It's just getting the language to shore up the way you want it to sound. And I have some tips and tricks that I'm going to show you. But the first thing I want to talk about is the difference between dialogue and narrative. Dialogue is the heartbeat. That's the emotional center of your writing. That's where all the feelings take place. Love, anger, sadness, despair, joy. It's all in the dialogue. So you're going to manage the dialogue a little differently than you are the narrative. Now the narrative is going to set the tone, the mood, the environment, what everything looks like, how it feels. All of those things are incorporated into the narrative. So we're going to manage that a little bit differently. So the first thing I want to show you is how I do it. And it's a very simple technique, and I've been doing it for years and years and years. We've all said this sentence, "Where are my keys?" haven't we? We have all at one point or another looked for our keys. So that's why I use this phrase. And I'm going to circle where. Anything I circle is going to be exaggerated. It's going to be what would be called pointed, or it's going to be said a little bit stronger than everything else. So I'm going to give you an example. Where are my keys? Now that's an exaggeration. Where are my keys? Now, questions on average should always go up at the end. Just your voice leaning towards up motion, right? Where are my keys? All right, so I'm going to change that, and then we're going to now say, where are my keys? Entirely different meaning. I'm not talking about your keys, his keys, her keys. I'm not talking about anybody else's keys. Where are my keys? That could mean something entirely different. And then we're going to switch it over here, and we're going to say, where are my keys? I don't want to know about my purse. I'm not asking about my coffee. Where are my keys? Where are my keys? See how that sounds? And then last, where are my keys? And every which way I've said it, it's a little bit different. And that's what you're going to do with your dialogue. You're going to find those key words that you really want to stand out, and then you're going to circle them. And I'm going to suggest that you circle them right in the book. Yeah, because I recommend that you read from the book. An actual physical book. Hard copy, softback, I don't care. But you want that audience to see your book cover. And the best way for them to see it is if you're holding it. Now, you can't have it sitting next to you. That's a possibility. I've seen that happen. You can have both. You can be holding it and have it sitting next to you. But you want that audience to see that book cover that you paid mightily for, or that you worked very hard on, or that your publisher worked on. Wherever that book cover came from, if the audience can't remember your name and they can't remember the title of your book, they might just remember that book cover because it's going to be in front of them the whole time. I'm not going to recommend reading from a tablet. A tablet does not give you a book cover. Now, I have had people say, well, why don't I tape the book cover to the back of that? And you can, if you like. But I've also seen people read from their phones. And let me just give you that example. Mary had a little lamb whose fleece was white as snow, and everywhere... Just a second. No. Hang on just a minute. The lamb was sure to go. Don't let it happen to you. I'm telling you the truth. That's just, oh, so horribly embarrassing. The next thing you can do with a book is you can actually write in in the book itself. You can make notes in the margins. You can circle, underline, do all kinds of things. That's going to indicate for you how to read it. Now, I don't know about you, but I can get kind of nervous before I go up in front of an audience, and I would read right past things that are going to be important, words that I want to point out, and language that I want it to sound in a certain way, and narrative, I want to give the right mood, tone, I want the right pausing, and I will slide right past all of that because I'm just trying to get back to my seat, right? So in order to do that, I slow myself down by making all those indications. And then in the end, the thing I do is I give the book to a member of the audience. There's such goodwill. If you are writing your own books and you're self-publishing, it costs you $3 or $4, and that's goodwill for everybody in the audience. And then you tell them, give it to somebody who you don't know, right? Because I guarantee somebody in the audience will say, do you know her? Do you know her? You must know her. And then they can honestly say, no, they don't. And then I give it to them and I say, I can personalize that for you at the end, right? So they come back and they see you in the end. So there's a lot of goodwill to be had about a book, an actual book. Now, this is a frothy little romantic comedy. It's just a lot of fun, this opening chapter. And the title of the book is Show Fever, and it is from our friend Daphne Mask. You want me to kiss him? Now? Clarissa stared out into the dark abyss. It was uncomfortably still. Right now? Her question was followed by a long silence. All she heard was the sound of her breathing and the thump of her heartbeat echoing in her ears as if it were trumpeting through a megaphone. So you're serious? You want me to kiss a total stranger in front of you and everybody else in the room? Have I got that right? You do, the deep voice bellowed out from the dark, cavernous space. I'm going to stop here for a minute. So I'm going to talk about taglines. He said, she said taglines. If you say the question as though you're actually the character, using that character's voice, you do not need the tagline. Okay? And keep that in mind because you can wind up sounding, if you say he said, she said every time, the focus of the reading just goes to the tagline and people don't actually hear the story. So judiciously, you're going to take out some of those. Now, when the deep voice bellowed out from the dark, that was a new character. We didn't know who that was. So that's why I said who that person was, where they're from. You do. The deep voice bellowed out from the dark, cavernous space. So you see, that gives it a place. And it's an anonymous person. We don't know who it is yet. We don't know what's going on there. But at least we know why I gave you that. But now we're going back to the audition. But I don't know him. In fact, I don't know anyone here, she said, hoping for mercy. I'm Alexander. She heard him whisper his name unexpectedly into her ear. His voice grabbed her attention. She lost her composure, and a deeply buried raft of emotions rushed through her. He pulled away as quietly and as easily as he had moved close to her. She smelled the faint musky cologne and the crisp wintergreen on his breath. Oh, the chills running up and down her spine were surprisingly pleasant. The scent alone made her heart skip a beat. This was the first personal information he had given her since she'd been ushered onto that stage with him. She cleared her throat, straightened her skirt, and took a deep breath. Now, I'm going to stop here. I did all three of those things. I cleared my throat very subtly. I straightened my skirt by moving around a little. You understood what I meant. And then I took a deep breath. So You can follow your own advice in the writing in terms of a presentation. You don't have to just stand stiff. Okay? Now we're going to move on. She faced Alexander. She muscled up a little bravado and hoped she would be able to casually lean in and kiss the sweet-breathed stranger without looking too foolish. And when she finally felt ready to kiss him, she took one step, froze, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. The thumping in her heart sounded like gongs pounding. His steadfast gaze was intimidating. He wasn't shy in any way imaginable. The audacity of him! She's starting to panic, so I'm going to talk a little faster. So I'm following the mood and the tone of the character. For crap's sake, woman, I don't have all night and we've got at least a dozen others behind you. I'm going to start that again. For crap's sake, woman, I don't have all night and we've got at least a dozen others behind you. The director's voice pierced the quiet theater. Alexander purposefully walked close to her, close enough that nobody else would be able to hear what he had to say. Please, don't be provincial. If kissing me offends your sensibilities, then please do us all a favor and get off the stage. And then he walked away. She followed him. But then I won't be cast. Frustrated, he turned to face her. Do you think? I don't know. You might have a point. And he walked away in frustration. Oh, there's got to be something illegal about this, isn't there? Clarissa's voice was rising to the point that everyone was able to hear her. My HR department would have a coronary if this happened in an interview, she said, and she was starting to jabber nervously. She bit her lip. Alexander, on the other hand, kept his cool. He turned to face her and didn't raise his voice. You're probably right. I have two suggestions. Either you hire an attorney or grow up. He started to leave the stage again. But I just wanted to audition. Not quite right. You want to audition for Tracy Lord, and that's very different than just auditioning. Oh, she nodded in coy agreement. Alexander continued, here's a secret. Every woman in the room is auditioning for Tracy Lord, and probably a couple of the men would like to. Maybe you're not aware of this, but that character has a kiss in the play. Oh, that's right. Her head dropped. She bit the inside of her mouth to stop her lip from quivering. It had been 5 years since she'd kissed a man, and she never ever once in all that time ever fantasized about kissing anyone in front of total strangers in a cold, damp, hollow, run-down theater. So I should kiss you just like that, smack on the lips right now? A roar of yes immediately followed. Everyone sitting in the theater had spontaneously chimed in to encourage her. Thank you. That's all for today. I hope to see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.